Jeff Packer here, and I am coming to you with our quarterly update for 2022. And the real estate market, is it crashing? Is everything going to hell in a handbasket? What is going on? Oh my goodness, every day we get phone calls and get fielded questions on the real estate market, probably more now than I have in really since the recession of 2008. And everybody actually kind of thinks like, is that where we're headed? Is the bubble gonna burst? Is the market gonna tank? Are the houses prices, the gains we've seen over the last couple of years, is it all of a sudden gonna go down, 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 down? What's going on? And here's the deal. I am anxious to answer those questions for you. This is our market update. We're gonna go through this. There's gonna be a lot of data thrown at you, but I'm gonna try to help make sense of it all. And so here's what we know for sure, and we're gonna look at this very factually because here's the thing. Real estate is always, always, always trading a majority of the time. There's always these emotional sales that do happen from time to time, but generally speaking, real estate is always trading on supply and demand. And we need to understand that. That is a fundamental principle of why the market behaves the way it does. So as we look at what's going on in the market, we know we've got rising inflation. I think the number that just came out was like 9.1% inflation year to date. It's like the highest it's been in like 40 years. So we know that is a variable that's playing into the real estate market. What does rising inflation have to do with things? Well, then the government, and particularly the Fed, is trying to curb inflation, and they curb it by increasing the Fed rate. The Fed rate being increased causes potentially, it's not always true, but most of the time causes then the mortgage rates to increase as well. So we have interest rates on mortgages going up. In a lot of ways, they've pretty much doubled since the beginning of the year. So year to date, they've practically doubled, gone from like say sub 3% interest rates up to 5.5%, 6%, depending on credit score and credit worthiness. And then we know too, prices are continuing to go up. What did I just say? Prices are going up? Yes, prices are continuing to go up. And that's one of the common misconceptions that's going on right now. So what is going on with why are those things, how are those things impacting the market? What are we seeing right now? So let's first look at the available new inventory that's coming on the market. So the supply side of the transaction. So on the supply side, we are actually finally seeing a little bit more supply hitting the market than we did over the last 2 years. Obviously in 2020 with the pandemic, it was like an all-time low. 2021 was still really low. We are outpacing 2021 year to date by not a lot. It's like maybe a little over 1,000 more homes that have hit the market in the Detroit metro area opposed to last year at this time. So it's about a 1.9% increase. So not a huge increase in terms of new homes hitting the market, but there are more inventory that is out there than there was the last 2 years. Then we look at pending sales. So these are homes that are in process to close and things like that. And we are lower than we were last year at this time. Last year at this time, we'd be at around 56,000 pendings year to date, and we're at like just shy of 53,000. So it's a 6% drop. Well, why is that? Well, rising interest rates doubling, have what we knew would happen, would price out some of the buyers from being able to buy. So we have just seen this. People have decided to go ahead and put themselves on the sidelines. Maybe that's short term, maybe it's long term, but the rising interest rates and the rising prices are leading to an affordability issue for some people. And so we saw that would happen. It is happening. So we just need to understand that. So we are seeing, again, pending sales being lower year to date than we were last year at this time. Then we look at closed sales, so the amount of homes that have already closed, so they've been pending, went closed, and things like that. And again, we're down, roughly about 2,000 to 3,000 units less than last year. But we're up compared to 2020 at this time. Well, that's because we were shut down for quite a bit of time in 2020. And so our third and fourth quarter in 2020 were really, really strong and made up for the really weak second quarter in 2020. But bottom line is that we are behind pace to last year as far as number of homes sold. And a lot of experts expected that would be the case if interest rates started rising, because again, we're going to see people who just can't afford some of the homes now with rising rates and rising prices. And so again, none of this is a super big surprise. It just means the market is slowing up a little bit. But slowing up, I was talking to somebody the other day, and the way I described it is, in 2020 and 2021, during those pandemic years, the real estate market was like a Ferrari in sixth gear. I mean, it was flying, soaring, like we were going max speed. The market was about as good as it's ever been for a seller looking to sell. We're just downshifting a little bit right now. So it's still a Ferrari, it's still going fast, but instead of sixth gear, we might be in fifth gear. Another way to look at it is, instead of a white hot market, we're in a red hot market. But everything, all the trends show that we are going to continue to see a little bit of a slow up. I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the video as to why this may be a very unique time where it's a really good market to sell, but also a really good market to buy, opposed to where we might be 3 years from now. So we'll talk through that, but I just want to be very clear, we are starting to see a little bit of a slow up. With that though, like I said, demand has slowed up a little bit. Inventory is actually still pretty good. And with that shift, normally we would start seeing homes sit on the market a little bit longer, but we're not. We're actually, year to date, we're seeing homes and condos both sitting on the market 27 or 26 days on average year to date, where last year at this time it was like 32 days for homes and 41 days for condos. So we're seeing the condo market become a lot more attractive and move a lot quicker. And the housing market is moving a little bit quicker than it was last year as well. I think with rising interest rates, it's causing more of a decisiveness where buyers are seeing the urgency to be able to buy a home sooner than later, because the longer they wait, then the rates might continue to go up more. And I think that's what's contributing to the days on market going down, even though supply has increased a little bit and demand has decreased a little bit. So then we look at median and average home sales. And in both cases, median and average home sales have increased roughly in the housing market about, whether you look at median or average, you're looking somewhere, you round up, round down, it's around 9% increase year to date. In the condo market, it's closer to like 10 or 13%, depending on median or average. So again, we're continuing to see prices increase. Why are we continuing to see prices increase even though rates are increasing and things like that? And it's simple economics. And this is the point that I literally ad nauseum talk about this every day to people. The reality is that supply has been at an all-time low. And it's still there. I mean, a 2% increase in housing year to date over last year is not by any stretch of the imagination a flood of inventory that all of a sudden is going to solve the demand issue. So inventory is still remaining at historical lows. And so that's the supply of homes for sale. And the demand is shrunk, but not drastically. So again, demand is still outpacing supply. Hence, when that's the case, simple economics, prices continue to go up. And all of the experts, yes, have refurbished their forecast from what they saw at the beginning of the year, and they've dialed back the forecast, but it's because of mainly the interest rates rising like they have. That was one thing they weren't sure was going to happen. But even with the refurbished forecast for the rest of the year by some of the leading economics, the chief economists, I should say, in the real estate industry, all of these forecasts have been still forecasting an increase year over year of prices. And so, and it's just because of supply and demand. Demand is still outpacing supply. Demand is outpacing supply for a lot of reasons. One, it's the millennials coming of age. So I think the millennials are roughly 5 million more millennials than there were Gen Xers. And so those millennials now are in their late 20s, early 30s. And as a result of that, they're coming of age to buy homes. They're wanting to buy homes. They want the American dream. And so as they focus and pursue that American dream, the reality is that is one of the biggest reasons why we continue to see demand stay relatively high. So let's keep looking through some of this stuff because, again, these are very important numbers to understand. So the next one is how many homes are selling at or above list price right now, or what is that average that's happening? And again, we're seeing roughly most homes year to date selling about 1.6 or 1.5% above list price. And so we're still seeing predominantly homes selling above list price. But Jeff, we're starting to see price reductions, et cetera, et cetera. Yes, I agree with that. But the price reductions are predominantly on homes where the seller and or the agent listing it were maybe a little too bullish on what they thought they could get for the price of the home. And they're having to come back to more of a reality, the right value to get it sold. And so if a home is priced right, it's still selling at above list price. And we're seeing that year to date based on the most up-to-date info. Here's, though, one of the biggest things that I see as we have to forecast moving forward, and this is why I think it's one of the better times to consider purchasing a home and or selling a home right now, is the Housing Affordability Index. At the end of last year, the Housing Affordability Index in our area was, for houses, 182, and for condos, it was 195. Well, Jeff, what does that mean? Great question. It means that at the median household income was 182% of what is necessary to qualify for the median priced home under prevailing rates. Well, as you can see, with prices going up and with interest rates going up, we have to look and understand that the affordability is going down. And as the affordability goes down and closer to 100, then that's when we're going to start seeing, I believe, a little bit more, not necessarily of prices dropping, not really anything in regards to that. It's just going to be, that's where we're going to start seeing demand shrink more and more, just because less and less people are going to be able to afford the homes in this area. And so we'll just see a slower increase of value the closer we get to 100. If it goes below 100, we could start seeing a lot less homes being able to be purchased, which really would impact our sellers in that market. And this happened actually at one point in our history. It was the late 70s or early 80s when mortgage interest rates went through the roof. House prices actually, surprisingly during that time, still went up, but the number of homes that sold were just so fewer. And so if you needed to sell, it took a lot longer to sell that home. And so that's going to come back to my point here in a minute. As of right now, our Housing Affordability Index for a single family home in this area is 129. And for condos, it's 134. So again, what does that exactly mean? It means that it would take, for the median household income is 129 or 134% of what would be necessary to qualify. So people are still well able to qualify for the median priced home based on today's prevailing rates. That's good for people still looking to buy, but the longer it takes somebody to buy, as these prices continue to increase and the rates increase, the ability to qualify for a home above the median is going to be tougher and tougher and tougher. And so you're going to have to, as a buyer, start shifting what you're willing to do or what you're willing to purchase and purchase less house for the money. That's just the reality of what's going to happen. So let me just summarize this to some degree with this all of this information, and then I'm going to talk through a little bit of then what my recommendation is if you've gotten to this point in the video and you've listened to all of this data. So new listings are higher, little bit higher. If we combine housing, single family houses with condos, it's roughly 1% higher than where it was last year. And keep in mind, last year's inventory and the year before were the lowest ever. So a 1% increase is next to nothing. Pending sales are down roughly about 7%. Closed sales are down roughly 6%. And days on market is down 18%. All of this suggesting demand has peeled back a little bit. Inventory has gone up a little bit. And so that will cause prices not to increase as much, which we're already seeing. The median and average sale prices are roughly around 9% right now. That's less than what it was the year before. That's fine. And we're still seeing a majority of the homes selling a little higher than asking price, roughly 1.6% above asking price. The affordability index is drastically lower, and all of this would give me my recommendations to you. My recommendations are, if you're looking to sell, the next couple of years are going to be the best years for you to consider to sell. Are they as good as the 2 years previously? Not in terms of how hot the market is, but yes, in terms of the prices are going to be higher than they were 2 years ago. So the prices are continuing to go up. So over the next year or two, it's still going to be a good time to sell a home. But if the interest rates continue to go up, the demand is going to go down. If the demand goes down, you're not going to create the bidding wars that we had over the last couple of years. The last couple of years, the bidding wars were insane because the demand was super high and supply was super low. And so as those start bridging a little bit closer to each other, it's just not going to be these bidding wars. So we have to understand that aspect of things. So I do think for somebody looking to sell, the next 1 to 2 years is going to be a golden opportunity to take advantage of a still rather healthy seller's market. We're going to move from a seller's market into more of a balanced market. But if you're a seller, it's a good time to do so now. We'd love to help you. We have people that are obviously on this team, ready and willing and able to walk you through what needs to be done to get your house up on the market. If you're looking to buy, now is the time. Rates are only going to continue to increase in the long term. There might be short-term pullbacks. Like just this last couple of weeks, we saw a little bit of a pullback in the rates. But rates overall are going to continue to increase as the Fed tries to get inflation under control. And so, look, if you can afford the house today, even with the higher interest rates, my good friend and mortgage lender, Grant, said this really, really well. Marry the house, don't marry the mortgage. Meaning, let's get you into the right house now. Well, the prices aren't continuing to go up. The prices are a little, going to be lower today than they probably will be in 2 years. The rates are lower today than they probably will be in 2 years. But even if the rates dip, you can always refinance. You can always get the rate lower if that makes sense. But this is why right now, over the next 2 years, it's going to be a really good time to be a buyer in the market because you're not going to be competing like you were the last 2 years with as many people. Are there still bidding wars? Absolutely. The best homes still are attracting most of the buyers. But where we used to have maybe 20 offers on a house, we might only have 10 offers. It might cut that activity down some. But there are certainly houses out there right now that do not have multiple offers on them. And so there is some negotiability coming back into the market. There is some ability to not have to waive everything and the kitchen sink just to get your offer accepted. And so I would really highly encourage you to talk to us here on this team, and we can help you understand how best to take advantage of today's market given the current situation. That is a very lengthy second quarter market update, but I felt it was super imperative to go through these numbers because there's so much misconception. And when I'm watching the news, when I'm reading the articles, there are so many misinformed people that are talking about a pending crash of the real estate market, or there's so many people that ask the question, is this going to be like 2008 all over again? And the answer is, heck no. There is no chance that this is going to be like 2008 again. Not even close. 2008 was caused, that recession then was caused by the real estate market, was caused by bad mortgages being given to people. That's not happening right now. And so we just need to understand and stick to the facts, understand what drives prices in the real estate market. And the bottom line is supply has continued to stay low and will continue to stay much lower than the demand. And so look for those opportunities. Work with a professional real estate agent, and let's help you get into a great house or help you sell a home. And if you're looking to buy, get you into that wonderful upgraded home that you can enjoy for years to come and have the confidence to know that you made a right decision at the right time. Hey, and as another note, my good friend, Dave Ramsey, some of you know who he is, national renowned speaker, great author, just put out a wonderful video that does a super deep dive, even deeper with lots more really, really good national data. Because what I went over with you mostly in this video today is really regional stuff, but national data that talks more deeply about what's going on in the real estate market. He calls it the real estate reality check. And it was a great video, great discussion with him and a few members of his team. And I'd welcome you to watch that as well. We'll put the link in the description of this video. Feel free to click on that and listen to a man full of wisdom talking about this current real estate market.